If you continue this little charade...
It's not a charade. I don't want to go to church.
Well, you're not going to church.
But then can we go to Macca's then?
No, you're not getting fed tonight. I told you that.
Hello ladies and genitals, today we're going to be taking a look at World's Strictest Parents. Essentially, it's a TV show which gives parents an excuse to ship their horrible kids off to a well-strict family in another country. During the show, you literally witness the culture shock they go through as they are basically forced to change their lives in another country. But as anticipated, things don't always go to plan. And often you see the kids kick up a bit of a fuss. This episode starts out with 16-year-old Rylee and her parents at the airport. Now, you might think you're about to see some sort of fitting farewell. Saying goodbye to your parents could be relatively emotional. But Rylee, on the other hand, decides to give us a different emotion.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Another parent would probably look at me like, yeah, she's normal. My parents just have higher expectations.
I don't think she's very happy, and I wonder why. It might be something to do with the fact that she's woken up this morning, been told to pack her bags because she's being moved to Australia. But based on this clip, I'm not surprised that her parents have higher expectations. But I'm not about to judge her yet.
I don't care. You're not having my phone to buy me cigarettes. I can't buy them. Are you even stupid or something?
I'm judging now. She sounds horrible. Very, very horrible. But I feel like normally in these situations, you look at the people around the child to sort of understand where this behaviour comes from. Like, I know that if I even thought about having this attitude when I was a child, well, it wouldn't have ended well for me. No phone or no cigarettes would be the least of my concerns. But you could see from the interaction where Rylee told her mum not to touch her, her mum just sort of backs off. Now, I'm not saying that she should curb stomp her child, but maybe if you're going to discipline her, maybe commit to it. Don't back off as soon as she bites back. But honestly, this interaction between Rylee and Rylee mum is quite tame.
It's all about me.
That's a nice thing to say. Like the plane crashes on the way home.
What? That is honestly mental. Surely that has to be playing up to the cameras because that's absurd. I hope your plane crashes. How much does she want those cigarettes? But the sad thing is that you can actually see how much this affects the parents. Well, maybe Rylee mum to be more precise. But when you can see how visibly upset Rylee's mum is, you can sort of hear that her dad isn't so emotionally invested.
That much disrespect and be so hurtful.
I'm sad.
You're not fooling anyone, mate. We all know you wish you wrapped it up. But after this, Rylee tells us that she thinks the show is pointless and nothing's ever gonna help her.
I love running amok, like going out with friends and drinking. I'm not stoned. I drink until I don't know where I'm walking, I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know who I'm with. I'm going to have a cone. I've done speed and acid.
So many drugs, what the fuck? Nah, but on a real, this is genuinely mental. I know the world is very different in Australia. Like, you have to have a scrap with giant mutant spiders every time you want to get out of bed. There are things with pouches bouncing around waiting to
disembowel you
as soon as you want to go out and get your dinner. But surely this is too much just to distract you from the beasts you surround yourself with. But as you are upside down in Australia, why don't you just try and stand up very quickly? Head rush is a hell of a drug.
head rush.
But after quite a strong message about the importance of sending her daughter away, they literally admit to running out of hope, time, and options. Which is a bit of a worry. But based off the stuff we're seeing of Rylee, well, I would have done a Rishi Sunak and sent her to Rwanda years ago. But speaking of the Prime Minister of England, meet our next contestant. He's not a contestant, is he? He's just a child. Meet Liam!
Melbourne teenager Liam has been at this airport before. 2 years ago, Liam's parents moved the family from England to give this bad boy a fresh start.
Oh, Liam, you silly little boy. Whatever could you have done? But actually, what can you do in England that's so bad that you need to be sent to Australia for a fresh start? Did you commit arson? Is this Guy Fawkes? To be fair, we did used to send our prisoners to Australia. That's not to say the history of the United Kingdom is things that we should repeat. Just ask the British History Museum. Also, pre the drip. Things
have hit crisis point, and Liam's about to get kicked out of the family home.
I think I'm obnoxious, a little insecure.
It's his last chance at turning his life around.
Is she gonna have him whacked? This is really last chance saloon for Liam. And at this moment in time, we don't even know what he's done. All that we know is that his mum's gonna disown him if he doesn't get his act together. But to be fair to Liam's mum, she does actually give him some sound advice. He also clearly has a lot more respect for his mum if you compare him to Rylee from earlier.
If you feel that you're losing it, just take some time out to calm down.
When I'm overseas, I mean, yeah, I guess you gotta have some fun, you know? I think I'm a bad boy.
Bad boy or not, Listen to your mum, Liam. Even if she does plan to ship you off to go and live with strangers. Which is a really strange concept when you think of it. When you're a kid, you're told to avoid strangers at all costs. But not Liam's mum. She's gonna send her little one off to go live with random people. What a swell idea.
I've taken speed, LSD, mushies, weed,
If there's drugs around, he will use them to excess.
eckies.
Damn, Liam, that is so epic. I guess at least you have some common ground with Riley, though. That's the most abstract small talk ever. So, you'll try the new mushy? Man, I love drugs. By the way, Liam is 17 years old, Riley is 60. And they've already been exposed to almost every recreational drug under the sun. Like, at this point, what haven't they done? You might as well open a pharmacy at this rate. If you sat next to one of these two people on the bus, you just get high from their body odour.
One early morning I came back from the party and I had drugs on me. I booted the wall in and I booted the door in and then he called the cops.
We got an intervention
order. We took out an intervention order.
Wow, Liam, kicking the door in your family home. That's so cool. Wish I could do that. I might hurt my feet. But in case you didn't hear that, Liam's parents said that they got an interventional order on him. Basically, this is a court order where you're allowed to make decisions or take actions on someone else's behalf, which is kind of like parenting, but with legal endorsement. Like a burger, but the sauce is the law. I don't know what I'm saying.
Pisses me off.
Sometimes I get quite scared. In the last year, he's got quite big and quite strong. So I know I'm not able to physically overpower Liam.
You know earlier when I said that he clearly respects his mother? I'd like to formally retract that statement. Apologies if I sound like a bit of a dinosaur, but that dad should not be letting his son get physical towards his mother. That dad should be drop kicking him down the road, and this is an old TV show, so that was probably acceptable back then. But like a Minecraft YouTuber, the adult meets the teenagers. It's as awkward as anything, but then the kids are sent on their way. And off they trot to Albany, New Zealand. They very quickly meet their new temporary parents, and they're an interesting bunch.
Matriarch Yvonne is not a woman you want to mess with.
No smoking, no swearing, blaspheming or disrespectful language.
Now, I'm going to take a stab in the dark here and think they might not get along. But basically, they try and make her look all like tough and scary by showing her cycling. I'm not sure that's going to have the desired effect.
We just have to get ciggies and bud and alcohol.
See what I mean? These kiddies just love their druggies. When I was 16, I was trying to pretend to people that I didn't like Lego Star Wars because I didn't want them to think I was weird. These two are sitting in the back of a random car being filmed by people saying how they want to run a drugs operation. She is the age to be sitting her GCSEs and she's more worried about trying to smuggle in ganja. Sweet Mary Jane. That is some extracurricular. But after literally being here for a matter of hours, they've already found a way around the house rules. And they've clearly formed a strong bond on the plane over, and let's be honest, the foundations were solid. But it's not going to be the plain sailing trip that they think it is. Oh no. Because the temporary family have called in a sniffer dog.
But if Liam and Riley think they've outsmarted Yvonne and Simon, they're in for a rude shock.
Oh, g'day, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
I'd like to introduce you to Riley and Liam. Just want to let you know that Max is a drug dog.
Oh, is it?
Oh no, his face. Okay, but that is fucking mental though. I get it's like the point of the show. They want to make these kids get off their drugs and be better people. But at this point, they haven't even asked them if they have any drugs on them. Like, surely a question should come first of like, any drugs? Any Mars bars? Like, surely that comes first, no? And I thought you'd want to be testing the honesty first, rather than go, haha!
Drugs, we found them.
But I guess maybe if you don't have drugs, there's no problem. That's probably the better standpoint. But basically, Liam asks what would happen if there was in fact drugs in his bags. And his new mum basically says you'll get in my car and go 6 kilometers down the road to the jail. And also, the narrator decides to tell us that it's actually an official police drugs dog, and any drugs found would have to be reported to the police. But I'm not being funny, how do you just get drugs straight away? Because obviously you wouldn't have got them through customs, would you? So you would have had to have a man on the ground. What's happened there? But basically the dog did its thing where it kind of like sits down when it finds drugs. But luckily for Liam, he had already consumed it all. Lucky bugger. But next up, their temporary parents try to trick them into coming to church with them. And for some reason they have a very strong dislike for it. Like, I get it, it's not for everyone, but they hate it. Like, I think at one point Liam actually says that if he goes into a church, he's going to burn.
If they refuse to go along, we're going to go anyway. The only way they're going to get fed tonight is at the church cafe. Just just give you the heads up on what we're doing tonight.
Yeah.
We thought we'd take you to the church we go to because it's completely probably different to what you're expecting.
As you can tell, Rylee is fuming. And I'm sorry, but how are we seeing starvation used as a punishment? You can only eat if you come to church. That seems very Ruby Frankie of you. But they hate it so much that they quite literally run away. Imagine getting someone's kids to look after and you literally lose them on day one. That is such an L. But then they eventually get caught and Liam asks the serious questions.
God, I don't want to go to church.
Well, you're not going to church.
So then can we go to Macca's then?
No, you're not getting fed tonight. I told you that.
Oh, but you're my guardian. My mum would bash you.
Better put them up in your cupboards because I'm made of them.
I get the whole point is like tough love, but you cannot starve a child. That's just plain wrong. That's just like basic parenting. If you have a child, you need to give them food and shelter. It doesn't have to be a gourmet meal or a mansion. These are just the fundamentals. I think this was aired back in 2011, but even then, I don't think this was an acceptable way of parenting. Like when I was 11, my parents weren't starving me because I wasn't very good at science. Fun fact, I took 6 science GCSEs and failed all 6. Not really relevant though. But I'm going to fast forward a bit now because it's a lot of the parents just saying don't do this, then the kids just do it, and then the parents get all shouty and the kids throw a straw. But after many days of conflict between child and parent, they go on some sort of team building exercise with people from the area. They have a talk with people who used to be involved with drugs and crime, and it takes a really positive turn. And the talks seem to have a very positive effect on Liam. But Rylee, on the other hand, things don't look so positive.
I bet your life's in New Zealand because I'm from Australia.
Hi. Yeah, sorry, New South Wales. Where's Rylee gone?
She's like, oh, do you drink and smoke weed? I'm like, yeah. And then I was like, oh, do you have any on you? She pulled out a bud and she snapped it in half and she's like, oh, here's 2 cones. That should give you 2 cones.
No! Rylee, how could you do that? They literally just had such a positive trajectory and now you've just shat on it. All because you wanted to sneak off and inhale some smelly green thing. Not very ideal, is it? However, I am starting to feel like the parents maybe didn't understand how big of a task at hand they had. It's evident to see that Rylee is more than a handful. And now, maybe with the attention shift onto her, you may see a different side of Liam. All of those positive steps taken could now be coming crushing down. But to be fair to Rylee, she comes to a realization that what she did was in fact very wrong, and she does actually go on to apologise.
I want to tell you, like, be honest with you, because I really want to work things out. Like, today in the park, someone gave me some weed and I took it.
Fair play, admittance is the first step to recovery. She comes to a realisation that she's done a bad thing and she wants to make amends. So much so that she actually hands over the drugs. She gives them away because she doesn't want them. They end up flushing them down the bog and they have a little hug. How sweet of them. But all jokes aside, this is actually quite a positive step. And you can clearly see a barrier has been broken between Rylee and temporary mum Yvonne. And surely we can hope that this is going to change her attitude towards her real mum when she goes home. Because if you remember at the airport when Rylee's mum tried to give her a hug goodbye, she shouted, "Don't touch me," which is a drastic contrast to this freeze frame. But in a drastic turn of events, Liam is fuming at some happiness.
I want to get rid of some anger. I'm going to find a punch on.
It was nearly time for bed. It was about 10:30, and next thing he's gone.
It's only just clicked tonight, you know? Like, I don't know, man, just something clicked about it and I just fucking hate her.
Sorry? You hate her because she said no to drugs. Hey man, drugs aren't cool. Always say no to them. You don't have to fall out with your best friend of 4 days over some simple marijuana. Just play with some Lego or something, I don't know, play some football. But like a scene from 8 Mile, he puts his hood up and kind of just walks in frustration for a bit. The new mum follows him in the car just saying, "Hi mate, get in the car mate." I'm not gonna lie, it even feels awkward to watch. But after being offered a different place to stay for the night because of his anger and dislike for Rylee, we see a very emotional side of Liam.
I really, really want to change. I don't want to be like this anymore. This is my last chance, you know? Because of my sister, you know? I don't want to take any drugs. I don't want to being like me the way I be to my parents, you know.
Oh, what a positive moment. Hopefully with a little heart-to-heart with Judge Judy, he can really concentrate on changing his ways. Hopefully he's gonna go home and be nice to his mum and not hit her. That's a great start. But speaking of his mum, she's sent him a letter. It essentially reads that they are really worried about him, and they really worry that the actions he takes will have an effect on his much younger sister, which is very fair. The parents don't want Liam's younger sister to be exposed to the sorts of things that he gets up to because they don't want her to pick up similar characteristics. But on the other hand, I do worry that this might add a lot of pressure onto Liam. But I guess you can see that this really has struck him deep, and he really doesn't want to have a negative effect on his sister. But a massive contrast, bungee jump. Okay, but after jumping off a platform with some rope attached to her, Rylee then gets a letter from her parents. And to be honest, it feels a little less heartfelt than Liam's one. They essentially just say to her that they think she's lost her way in life and any direction. It effectively just says, "You're finished." I'm well aware the stuff that she does is really bad, but she's 16. It's a bit premature to say that she's finished. She has her whole life ahead of her. But I guess mother always knows best, because it seemed to work.
I never really thought of how mum and dad were feeling. I was selfish at home.
Fair enough, different things work for different people. But a question I have is, how does she see? But as we get closer to the end, we see the families have been flown over. They've brought Liam and Rylee to this like talk thing. They're in front of loads of pupils, and I guess the kids have been brought in to be like, I've changed like, well, loads and stuff. Because Liam goes on stage and tells us all about the things that he's been through and the things that he knows he'd never do again. He speaks about respect for his parents, respect for the people around him, and more importantly, changing for his sister. And all of this while they don't know that their parents are in attendance. Which I think is really sweet, but at the same time, it's kind of odd. Like, it kind of makes it seem like it's all for show rather than trying to change their lives for the better. But you know, if it works, it works. But when Rylee steps up, she admits that she's been the victim of something truly awful. She mentions how she used to run away a lot and her parents would have to report her as a missing person. But one time, she actually ran away with an older man who she was convinced would treat her like a normal friend. But in fact, she was very wrong. And I'm not going to dive too much into this because it could be quite triggering to a lot of people, but I think we can kind of guess what could have happened. And I can imagine this is such a horrible thing for anyone to go through, and it would leave lifelong trauma. It's not fair for anyone of any age to have to go through something like this, but someone especially at 16 or younger. That is truly disgraceful, and I hope that she's okay with whatever she's up to in the present day. But after the crowd give a standing ovation, the parents reveal themselves and they get a warm embrace. This truly is lovely to see, and hopefully this has made their relationships at home much stronger. Obviously, they've spent a week away from their real family, so I'm sure they're over the moon to see their mums again. But just before they set off, Rylee gives a lovely parting gift to Yvonne.
This is just saying thank you for having us stay.
Thank you so much.
Changing our lives.
Dear Yvonne and Simon, thank you so much for the opportunity to see how your lives work and for welcoming me into your home with an open heart. I am truly appreciative for what you have done. Lots and lots and lots of love, Rylee. Kiss, kiss, kiss.
Well, isn't that nice? Starving your children and forcing religion on them, it works. But that's not all, folks, because at the end of the show, they do a little look at them now screen. Essentially, Rylee had the desired effect. She's gone back with her family, but still has the odd cigarette. But still, to have turned around a life of taking anything and everything to just going to have the odd cigarette, it's not that bad. So, hats off to her, I guess. But unfortunately, Liam's fate was not the same. They say that his good behaviour didn't last and he's still trying to patch things up. And he also never joined a boxing gym to make use of his anger. I think just moving anger into punching things, it's not really the best steps to take. But maybe back then it was. I just think that maybe encourages quite a toxic way of dealing with things. But I actually did a bit of background research and found that Liam actually has his own YouTube channel. He only has one video on there from 2013 where he actually reflected on this episode of World's Strictest Parents. And just a heads up, he's recording from a webcam which freezes loads. It's not your screen.
You probably know me as Liam off of World's Strictest Parents. My real name is Liam Stocking. Make fun if you want, but I don't care. I've been 3.5 hours. I have read through all the comments, and I agree with most of you. Definitely, I am an absolute dickhead.
I mean, fair enough. He can admit it, I guess. It's always good to look at your actions, reflect on them, and think what you could be doing better. And he has clearly grown up now, and he does seem like he probably has joined some sort of gym.
I just want to say I'm sorry for everyone that I have inconvenienced. I sincerely mean it. Especially my mum and dad. I just want to say I'm sorry for everything. You know, it shouldn't have happened. None of this should have happened. We should have just been a complete unit in the first place, you know. It's the path that I chose and I shouldn't have chose because it ripped us apart. It really did. And I shouldn't have gone down that path. I regret going down that path of drugs and fucking criminal shit.
Well, I mean, fair enough. He's clearly grown up now. He's realised his actions as a 17-year-old weren't very good. Obviously, it doesn't excuse any of the behaviour, but the whole point of the show was to rehabilitate and learn. But I suppose even though nothing worked for him on the show, it still gave him an opportunity to watch back the experience and have some sort of reflection. And I guess that was all that was needed to make it work. So hopefully now him and his parents have a great relationship, and I wish him all the best. But anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to leave today's video. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, please do feel free to leave a like and subscribe. It's completely free and it helps me out massively. And yeah, cheers. Bye.